Marcus, I'm sorry. I have to ask, how do you know when somebody's not saved? How do you clock that? Because to one denomination, not being saved means not being part of their denomination. To another denomination, not being saved just means you don't accept God exists right now. To another denomination, not being saved means you didn't accept God at one point in your life. So, Marcus, how do you figure that out? Alrighty. So, we haven't talked about Marcus Rogers in a while, and a lot of that comes down to the fact that the sheer length of his content is just... It's girthy. It's girthy. So we don't tend to all the time, but there's this weird thing that happened where he started complaining about the Super Bowl. So I guess I want to go ahead and cover that here in a sec. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get into the fan art section. Loki the Tired Trickster said a little hot and a little or a lot messy, but we have a Christmas slime Suris trying to get Winter Princess Slime Raz under the mistletoe. You think I had to try to do that? She runs there violently. The next one we have from Avada Dragmire is cursed. It's Hammer Titan Suris. The Attack on Titan fan in me actually just kind of wants to die looking at this. I will repeat what I said in the actual thread. Ivana, no, you cannot wield that kind of power. Rosalind Faye, thank you for redeeming your points, friend. You fucking monster. Also, Fennikagami, thank you for redeeming your points, friend. Oh well. So do you want to hug the Titan Suris? It wants to hug you too. In its teeth. Next, we have one from Dino Dentist, my first Suris fan art. I drew Suris with a Troodon representing chat because they were believed to hunt in packs. Not my best work, but I am still proud of this. I like this, though. This is cool. Yeah, this is, if there is an animal to represent the mischief, like, chaotic nature of Twitch chat, it's this right here. How would that work? There are those bar things in front of the mouth. Bonbon, I will leave it to you to envision how Vor functions. Anyways, as always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future episode, the best way to do so is to drop into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and get right into the episode. So, this video is called The Super Bowl Train to Hell. And it is 30 minutes long. We will not be getting into all of it. I don't think we can. But I want to look at what I can of it. So let's go.
What's going on, everybody? This word with you guys. I shared it with Firehouse today. And then after watching the Super Bowl, I had a couple people texting me during the halftime show. And I said, wow, this is just, confirmation of what we preach today. Now, when I made a post about this on Facebook.
Marcus, do you want to look at the camera, dude? Do you want to, are you going to, hold on. We're 19 minutes. Does he ever look at the camera throughout this entire video? Please tell me. Please tell me there is a screen cap we can find of him looking at the camera. At the camera, Mark. Why? Why is there nothing showing you looking at the camera? Okay, no, that's just a pet peeve of mine. Please, look at the camera. Oh my god. Belogalian, thank you very much for subscribing for 8 months.
I don't know why, but it made people upset. I don't know what it is, man. People just have an issue with everything that I do, but it doesn't matter, all right? So right here, this was a photo somebody sent me from my church of the Super Bowl halftime show, right? And so just, 2 different images there if you didn't see it or not. And they said, Pastor, what does that look like?
We can't see it, though. It's super blurry. Your camera's not focusing, my guy. Is it a quality thing? Can I increase the quality? Nope.
Now, obviously, we know it was supposed to represent the block. It was supposed to represent houses. But if you look at it, the way that they have it set up, it looks like a train. Now, the reason why this just blew my mind, because today at Firehouse, okay, I preached to them about trains, all right? Literally today, probably about, I say 2 hours before the Super Bowl. We ended service around 5 o'clock. And I was preaching about trains, but not only was I preaching about trains, all right? We were talking about broad is the way that leads to destruction, narrow is the way that leads to eternal life. And so I used the example of trains, and I said, there's trains in the world. And I said, I told them, choo, choo, right? The train is moving. And some people, they're on the train of the world and they're partying and they're dancing and they're clubbing and they're drinking and they're twerking and, just kind of painting that scene. So pretty much I painted to them a scene that was like, it's a club on a train, right? The train.
Okay, so let me make a prediction here. Please don't tell me. He's talking fast because we have him on at 1.5 speed because we know that the video's long. But, okay, I'm just going to say, my prediction, and maybe I'm wrong here, but my prediction is that we're going to get to the point with this where he's going to say, the Super Bowl had a train on it, therefore it's a train to hell. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that's the title of the video, and that's what he's... So far, he's literally just gotten to, hey, it looks like a train, and that's where we're at. I don't know if there's anything of substance here.
Train is moving, we're having a good time, it's a party, this is awesome. And so people are looking like, man, I want to be on that train, as opposed to the kingdom train, where Christians are just living miserable, just acting, you know, like, why would anybody want your Christianity, right? If you're just acting like it's just...
Is it all just metaphor?
Being a Christian. So when I saw the Super Bowl halftime show, okay, they have 50 Cent come down and they're dancing in one of those compartments, literally like they're in a club. And so I said, wow, man, this is just confirmation, you know, to my church. Now, maybe, you know, hey, if you're on YouTube and Facebook, I understand you wasn't at the church, so you don't understand. But those of us who are in the church know that today I literally went out of my way to paint a vivid picture of like a party train. And this train is on the way, okay, to hell. And I'll show you guys how we came about with that. And I just want to share share this word with you guys, because I feel like this is just confirmation and the Lord must have wanted me to get on here tonight. And so I was talking about, let's start with Matthew 7. Enter ye in the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, few there be to find it. So the first thing that I was telling you guys, it is a...
So, okay. I gotta stop it at this point. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is just the YouTuber in me speaking. Super Spartan, thank you very much for redeeming your points, friend. Oh, well. Maybe it's just the YouTuber in me, but the way this seems is that this has almost nothing to do with the Super Bowl. Yes, a concert with people dancing happened, but watching that as entertainment does not necessarily mean that you need to be part of that. You don't have to be one of the dancers. Like, that's it. Like, none of that has anything to do with the Super Bowl in and of itself, over and above just like the entertainment stuff that happens there. Like, watching somebody do dancing does not mean that you need to engage in the dancing. Okay.
Privilege to be saved. Aren't you happy that God brought you out of the world? He saved you out of your sin. He saved you out of your mess, and he brought you into the marvelous light. And I was explaining to him that the wide way is popular because it appeals to the flesh. All right, you don't have to be accountable. You can just live however you want to live. There's no cross that's carried. There's no faithfulness, no commitment, no sacrifice required, right? You just live the life you want. And so...
Okay, so I gotta stop you again, okay? Look, Marcus, I hate to do this, but can we talk about how the Bible actually, like, views salvation? Because the way that it's purported in the Bible, you do get to live that almost unaccountable life. Literally, when Jesus was on the cross, he was with thieves and murderers, and one of them got to go into heaven with him because at the last second, he had a deathbed conversion. I'm sorry, but whenever I'm fed the line, this is the way of the flesh, and oh my God, you just want to live a worldly lifestyle. You want to live this all the way, like you want to do all this. I just have to go, no, I'm sorry, I just don't see it. There's nothing about being an atheist or believing in another religion that suddenly means that you want to engage in hedonism. Granted, you can't even really make a compelling argument that hedonism is in and of itself a bad thing, but realistically, when you are presenting this, when this is presented to you, it's always presented as this binary option. Live as a Christian and go the straight and narrow path, or live as a heathen and fall off and drink and party and die. And the problem is the world doesn't work like that. The world is not set up in this convenient set of binary choices. The world is literally built up of a variance of shades of gray. There are people who are Christian who do not walk the straight and narrow, but will still end up in heaven because of John 3:16 being what it is. And then there are people who will walk that straight and narrow path, but by mere coincidence haven't actually heard the gospel of Christ and therefore won't find themselves in heaven. Literally, you can have a mass murderer that ends up in heaven by circumstance of being a Christian, and then you can have somebody who is literally an almost sinless, perfect human, except for the one sin of not knowing or believing. And suddenly, the latter one is supposed to be the one that's able to go to hell, and the former one's the one that's able to live forever in eternity. I'm sorry. Because of the reality of how salvation works in various forms of the Bible, I can never be on board with this idea that, oh, no, you don't understand. You're walking the way of the flesh. I just don't get it because it doesn't seem congruent with reality. Someone like a certain German leader from 80 years ago, the thing you need to understand where the Hitler thing, Nazi Germany is considered, he was allied with various churches and against various churches. The response from the Catholic Church in Weimar Germany, or in Nazi Germany, and the response from Lutheran churches were two very different responses. So I will say this. I do not want people on Marcus's side of the aisle painting people on my side of the aisle with a broad brush. I also don't want people on my side of the aisle pointing people on his side of the aisle with an equally broad brush.
For many people, the wide path, the broad path is more appealing. And so I begin to talk about Jesus saying in Matthew 10:38, and he that taketh not up his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. We always say this. People have a cross tattoo, they have a cross necklace, but they haven't taken up their cross. And so...
But how do you know that, though, Marcus? I'm curious. How would you know that they haven't taken up their cross? Did you live their life? Have you been in their shoes? Like, how did you get to make that decision about individual people? Were you stalking them?
If you look at 1 Peter 4:13, but rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. So when we take up our cross and we partake in his suffering, that is the ticket to seeing his glory be revealed in our life. And that's where the whole concept of the train began to come in. I said,
but what does that even mean, though, Marcus? You're speaking in vague platitudes. Take up Christ's suffering. If you're going to say a statement like that, you need to actually say what it means. Because again, to various denominations in various churches, that will mean something different. To Steven Anderson and his cult, that means trying to get gay people killed or taken out of public office. To a standard Methodist, that will mean just trying to bring people to Christ. To a Jehovah's Witness, that means being a door-to-door salesman. What does that statement mean? By itself, it's vacuous. There is nothing in it.
Said, you know what? Do you have your ticket? Do you have your cross? Okay? And not only that, think about it. There's a lot of trains that people can get on. They can get on the party train. They can get on the club train. There's a lot of, I explained it to them in Chicago, you know, you've got the train station, and if you go downtown, there's like a whole bunch of, you got the red line, the green line, the blue line, and it goes to different parts of the city. And it's kind of like that. He says, choose ye this day whom you will serve. I set life and death before you, blessings and curses. Curses, choose. And so many people are looking at the world and they say, man, they're getting high, they're drinking, they're having a good time, that was fun. Just like how 50 Cent was in there. Dun, 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 dun. And they say, man, I want to get on that train. And so I was telling Firehouse, we got to live our life in a way that it makes people want what we have. We got to live our life in a way like Jesus is literally the best thing that could ever happen to you. We got to live our life in a way where they see the joy, they see the peace of God.
Okay, so at least we got to this point. Live in a way where people will want to be Christians rather than want to be one of those, you know, worldly people of the flesh. That seems to be what he's trying to say here. And okay, this is very much the same stuff that I was taught when I was going through church as well. Like, hey, you need to make it seem fun to be a Christian. You need to make it seem okay to be a Christian. Cool. You know how you can best do that? Not being a judgmental prick about what other people enjoy. Because here's the thing, if you start doing if you do what Marcus tends to do and shit on other people's way of life, what tends to happen is people will look at you as a snob and they will definitively not want to be you, not want to have what you have. But if it seems like you're happy, irrespective of what goes on with you in your world, then they are more likely to want what you have. Now, this does not necessarily mean this is always an honest tactic. In fact, actually, Jehovah's Witnesses, if you go to Telltale Atheist channel, Jehovah's Witnesses actually do this thing where they argue and almost force their members to act happy all the time to make it seem more attractive to be a Jehovah's Witness, because that's how the Watchtower Society makes its money. They literally extort it from the people who work as Jehovah's Witnesses. So I'm not saying that you can't also use that for very, very ill gains. But what I am saying is that there's two ways to go about this. If you sit here and go, our way is better, our way is better, our way is better, at some point, somebody's going to look at you and go, I feel like you're telling yourself that more than me.
Man, I want to get on that train. And then I begin to explain how when Jesus, all right, when they put him, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he had to get on a train, in a sense. He said, Father, let this cup pass from me. Jesus knew if I got on this train, the place that they're taking me, they're going to beat me. They're going to kill me. And he said, let this cup pass from me. But nevertheless, Father, your will be done. Mm-hmm. And he said, here's my ticket. Punch it. If you want me to go, I'm going to get on this train. And I was beginning to tell.
Can we also talk about how that was basically Jesus talking to himself? Can we have an honest conversation about the fact that that was literally Jesus just talking with himself? And how weird that kind of is? He is the one who made that choice, not just to get himself beaten and killed by the Romans, but if Jesus is God, then he is all-knowing, because that is one of the aspects of the Christian deity. And if he's all-knowing, then that means that he planned early on to set up a scenario where he would have to send himself down to fucking die and get beat. Dark Fangin, thank you very much for giving your points, friend. Oh well. So, from my perspective, I have to ask the question, why is that something I should emulate? Why should I emulate somebody planning something out so poorly that it would necessitate their own death in a small geographical region after being beaten by several people? Why should I emulate that? I feel like that's something that, were I to properly emulate, I may need to bring that up in therapy. Just me personally. You need a Growlithe emote? Pandanom, you have a Growlithe emote. Did none of y'all know that we have a Growlithe emote? Is that not a thing that you had seen? We have one.
Tell the church, without a cross, right? He says, you partake in my suffering. Jesus said, take up your cross and follow me. He that does not take up his cross is not worthy of me. If you get on a train, like the bigger trains, like, the Metro and things like that, and you don't have a ticket, they have that man coming through and he's asking for tickets. Tickets, please. Tickets, please. And if you don't have a ticket, what do? They kick you off the train.
Are you just doing St. Peter and the Pearly Gates?
Exposed. We're seeing a lot of people that are on the train of Christianity, but they don't have a ticket. They don't have a cross. They don't have anointing. They don't have power. And God's about to kick them off of that train and expose them.
Okay, so you're just describing people who are emulating being Christians but are not saved? Okay, how would you know that? Marcus, I'm sorry. I have to ask, how do you know when somebody's not saved? How do you clock that? Because to one denomination, not being saved means not being part of their denomination. To another denomination, not being saved just means you don't accept God exists right now. To another denomination, not being saved means you didn't accept God at one point in your life. So, Marcus, what the fuck does that mean, and how the fuck would you know? How do you figure that out? And if you want to come up with some vague, or you want to quote the Bible, ye shall know by their works, I'm sorry, that still doesn't work. Because if we also quote the Bible and point out that you're not, it's not by works that you're saved, it's by faith alone, then ye shall know by their works makes no goddamn sense. It is a bloody contradiction at that point. I'm sorry, you can't know that. That's not, you don't have the ability to read somebody's minds to get that information.
And so, Jesus, he says, you know what? Let your will be done. He could have took the other train, the exit train. And so...
He really couldn't have, though. He set up that scenario himself. Like, you want us to live by example from somebody who set up the scenarios on his own to cause himself to suffer. That was entirely his doing.
Jesus, by dying on the cross, he gave us a ticket. Your ticket to freedom was in his hands. Your ticket to freedom was in his feet. When they nailed his hands, when they nailed his feet, when they put the crown of thorns on his head and they stretched him wide on the cross, he said, this is your ticket. By my death, okay? By my stripes, you are healed.
Okay, so it's just a sermon. It's just a sermon now. I thought we were going to get some conspiratorial like thing about how the Super Bowl is evil and it's a train straight to hell and all this because of what it was called. Because of what the title of the video was. But now it's just a sermon. It's just a sermon, and I'm not here to watch a sermon. And so why didn't he say so? I don't. If you've seen one sermon from Marcus Rogers, you have seen every sermon from Marcus Rogers. He takes a single platitude or a single idea, and then he tries to comport that into you should be saved, and then he just runs with it. And every single one operates identically. And I don't have the wherewithal, the time, nor the care to go further at that. The crux of the video seems to be that the Super Bowl, in his eyes, exemplifies a worldly lifestyle, and I guess he himself somehow, or some other thing exemplifies a non-worldly lifestyle to him, and he thinks you shouldn't live a worldly lifestyle. That's what seemed to be the crux of the video, which, at the end of the day, I will say this. Whatever the fuck lifestyle you want to live, as long as it's not hurting you or hurting others, then it's fine and valid. If it's hurting you or hurting others, then you probably need to reevaluate it. But if it's not, then you're fine. If somebody wants to do drugs, that's on them. But if they get themselves in a position where they are hurting themselves, then yeah, I might stage an intervention. But if they're not hurting themselves and they're not hurting their family or their loved ones or anyone like that, then I don't see why we should care. If your goal is to get them saved, then you can do that without trying to have that kind of intervention as well. I would argue also you probably will be more successful if you do that. Unless they're in the state of masochism, then hurting them might be fine. That's not hurting them, though. If we're talking about kink, we're talking about something that somebody enjoys. That's not hurting them. It's causing pain, but it's not causing suffering. There wasn't a whole lot there. I thought there would be more, but that was honestly kind of disappointing. About the only thing we got from that was a train meme. And I'm just bored. I'm just bored at that point. But with that said, if you were also bored, or you enjoyed, or what have you, let me know in the comment section below when this hits over on YouTube. If you want to help support the channel and what I do, there are always ways to do so in the description, but if you're watching live, you can hit the !star command, download Star Trek Fleet Command, and that will be a way that you can help support the channel as well. But that said, that's about all I got here. There's just not enough meat on that bone. There's just not enough meat on that bone for me on this video. Insert end of video tagline here.